Good evening. Welcome to Cherries Red Army. And what an exciting and busy day it was in transfer deadline day yesterday. AFC Bournemouth definitely took over. But as you woke up this morning, do you just sit and think to yourself, how does we make 25 players in a squad? And how do we break that down into 11 and 18 players in match day squad? Well, we're going to try and break it all down this evening. I've got some of the Cherries Red Army team joining me. We're going to look at each player, aren't we? We're going to break down the player profile. We want to get your thoughts throughout the evening. And at some point at the end of the stream, we're going to try and work out what Scott Parker's going to do and what team he can potentially pick. I really don't know. I've been looking at it all day and I can't pick a formation. And I certainly want to keep certain players in the team, but we're going to go through it this evening. But first of all, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. We're trying to get to 800. We're about 25 subscribers away. So please help us grow. Let's try and get to 800. Also, hit that like button because it really does help. And thank you for everyone checking out our recent content, and the likes are definitely going up. So thank you for that. And also interact. You've got that chat open. Let us know your thoughts. We'll show as many on the screen throughout the evening. And if you weren't able to join us live, don't panic. Just let us know your thoughts in the comments. So the board definitely backed Scott Parker, and it was an interesting day. But let's get some of the Cherries Red Army team on. And I want to see faces. I can see them backstage already. And tell me who has the biggest smile on their face when they come in. Let's get them on. Oh, he's got the biggest smile on their face. Let us know in the chat. We'll come to Aaron first of all. You were very excitable yesterday when I was chatting throughout the day. You were definitely happy with that transfer window.
Yeah, it's a great day. I think it left us all wanting a little bit more.
Absolutely. Steve, looking forward to this evening, trying to break down some of these players and how the hell we're going to make a starting 11 at the end.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's a bit of a quandary, isn't it? And nice pun there, Aaron, by the way. Yeah, brilliant day yesterday. Lots of great news. I mean, we were screaming out for a few key players, weren't we? And I think we've got more than what we bargained for. So, yeah, I mean, some real intent being shown. So, happy days.
Matt, I spent the day with you. It was a great day spending the day with you. I'm not sure the performance completely on the day made up for that. And even brought a nail home, didn't we, in the tyre of the car. But great to see you. We talked about some players and potentially what that transfer deadline day was going to look like. I'm sure you're happy with some, maybe not all. But how are you doing?
Very well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, the transfer deadline day turned out really successful for us, really, didn't it? In fact, it gave me a bit of a Woodman.
I'm not having that one.
We have got Chris Hubble also joining us, Lee J, and he's got some points in there to make about making Dean Court Fortress. Stephen, always great with the Cherries Red Army. Thanks for joining us. Who else? We've got Jakey up the Cherries. Cameron, Mark Cole's been part of these transfer shows. This is the third one we're doing, will be the last one of this season. We've got Mark Singleton, channel supporter member. We've got Andrew's Life vlog. We've got AFC Bournemouth Germany. And let us know if there's any more currently watching us. Can we get to 800 subscribers? But let's have a look then straight away at those signings and that transfer window when it closed at 11 o'clock last night. Incomings, we had 7 in the end. James Hill, Ethan Laird, Freddie Woodman, Nat Phillips, Sarike, Dembele, Kiefer Moore, and Todd Cantwell. Outgoing, Steve Cook, permanent move to Nottingham Forest. Nyland parted, that came late last night. Christian Sadie's gone out on loan. Potentially one to watch as well is Ibsen Rossi maybe going out on loan. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at each player. We're going to break it down and we're going to go in the sequence that it happened yesterday. So let's come to you firstly, Matt. This was a goalkeeper. He was the first signing of the day, I think. And we almost signed him in the summer, but just because Newcastle run out of goalies, it didn't happen. But Freddie Woodman's come in. Now, for me, you can see down on the banner below, if you're currently watching this stream, that you'll see some of his stats. we probably needed him in August. But you see the way that Travers has convinced a lot of fans that he's a good goalie, actually. Do we really need him?
For me, I understand the thinking behind it, because obviously Nyland's gone back. He's had his problems with injury, and when he has played, he's not looked very convincing at all. But as we've said so many times, and I was one of them at the start of the season that thought, "Oh, just get Travers out on loan. He's not ready. He's not ready at all for it. Just ship him out." And I was absolutely gutted in whatever it was, July or August, when Woodman didn't come. He didn't come to us because I thought that's when we needed him. But now we don't. We do need a backup keeper because Nyland's obviously gone, and Will Dennis, you wouldn't want to thrust him into a championship, promotion chasing team really in that running. He hasn't got the experience for it, but it would be so harsh, wouldn't it, if Woodman comes in and he displaces Travers? That would not send out a very good message at all from Scott Parker. So I understand the thinking behind it. I really do. And he is a good keeper, no doubt. I mean, he proved that, particularly at Swansea. He's proved that at this level. But for me, we can't drop Travers. He's probably been player of the season.
I don't expect Travers to be dropped, Matt. I don't know if anyone else has got any thoughts on this, but what I'm worried about is that is he one mistake away from being dropped? I don't want that to be the case, and Woodman's not going to want to sit there. And I just hope that Travers doesn't have a clanger and that's it. Woodman's in. Do you see that happening, Aaron?
Well, I think you're right. I certainly think Travs will start the next league game. And it's one of those situations where, as you said, is he kind of one mistake away from being thrust out of it? I've been really in two minds about this. I think, as Matt said, and I've said this to a lot of people, that promotion is the aim. We can't just rely on Mark Travers staying fit for the rest of the season. If he had a terrible injury, we would be in the deep dire if we just had Will Dennis, and as Nyland's proven, he's really not really up to it. So you've got to look at the bigger picture and think to yourself, if the worst was to happen, then and Travs had a season-ending injury, then you need a very good, decent backup goalkeeper. Having said that, I do think that from all accounts, Woodman, his distribution is what's really attracted Scott Parker to him. It's one of his best attributes. He obviously did that a lot at Swansea last year, the way they played football. And that's one of the best parts of his game. I've heard mixed reports from Newcastle fans about his performances in the Premier League, and he played a handful of games under Steve Bruce, which couldn't have been much fun. But I'd like to think that Travs has got that shirt, not just until he makes one mistake, but and if he's out of form, and then fair enough, you got someone breathing down his neck. Again, from what I've heard, he's coming in to be number one, so I guess we'll find out in a couple of weeks.
We definitely will, and it's good to have two good goalkeepers. I definitely just want Travers to keep that spot because, again, on Saturday he was fantastic. But moving up the pitch then this one maybe was a bit of a surprise. Although if you look at Nat Phillips' video interview after he signed, he said that he's been talking to Bournemouth throughout the window potentially. But coming to you again, Aaron, Nat Phillips, his player profile is in the banner below. His best stats were last season when he had a good run in the team, probably because Van Dijk was injured, I believe. But do you think Bournemouth maybe pushed for this one because Meps is struggling with hamstring and Cahill's not looked right for a few weeks?
I think that definitely played a part. I think, the Gary Cahill of a few weeks ago, Rolls Royce at the back, next to Kelly. Obviously, we had, Cookie then and Meps as well as backup, as well as Rossi. And we brought Hill in as well as a centre half. But again, I think it's one of those situations where if it's presented to you, you've got to kind of take it. And actually, out of the five yesterday, he's probably in the top two for me of the ones that I'm really, really excited about and impressed with. Even before this was even talked about, I was speaking to a friend from Liverpool who was saying, he's a level above the Championship. He could easily play in the top half Premier League team. Now, you're not going to get ahead of Virgil van Dijk, Matip, Konate they signed. But last season, with some of the injuries and Joe Gomez, he got into the team. As you said, he played 17 games last year. He played in the San Siro. A lot of people may have seen that drag back on that's going the rounds. And he said he's just an exceptional defender. He puts everything on the line. He's kind of like Steve Kirk. He'll throw his body in the way. He's not exceptionally quick, but he's a brute in the air. I think he's won something like, I saw the statistics, is like the best amount of headers won or something statistically. and he's a real lion, and he can play football. So he's a really good age, and someone who a lot of Premier League clubs down the bottom were hoping they would get someone like him. I think Newcastle were looking at him at one stage. I think Burnley were looking at him. So I think it's a real coup for us. And yes, he's only on loan, but a real star for the future. And I think, it's football's a harsh business, but Cahill's out of form. For me, he's going to be straight into that starting lineup, and I'm really excited by that.
And also Keith does mention here that potentially Cahill calling it a day after this season, but his form has dipped off. I thought he was walking through that first 15. Then he got injured at Millwall, and whether that's to blame, but again, got sent off at the weekend, was too slow to react. And Steve, just a final point on Nat Phillips. You like the heart of defending, and like Aaron said, in those stats below, 66% aerial duels won, and Simon K mentioned that on Twitter as well, that he dominated percentages and stats in his 17 games for Liverpool in winning headers, and we're going to need that power in defence.
Yeah, it's certainly something we've historically never been great at, isn't it? And I've seen this guy play a few times for Liverpool in Champions League games, and I must admit he's an absolute beast. I mean, he didn't, when they bring in these young lads and you think, oh, he's not quite at it, but this guy seemed to just fit in, and he's, as Darren said, he could easily play, in any of those teams outside the top six. He'd just walk into them, most of those defences. So to get him, like Aaron said, is a real coup for us. I mean, yeah, he's a warrior. I mean, I've seen him with, blood pouring out of his head, a la Terry Butcher. He's got that about him. He's and like Aaron said as well, he can play. He's decent, and he's just got all the attributes you want from a top class defender. So how we've pulled that one off, it's the one I'm most impressed with, actually. Is a great bit of business in my opinion. I don't care how much his loan fee was. So yeah, all the better for us, that one. And then, like you said as well, so just to end up on that, we lost Kirk. Cahill is out of form, and I don't think Hill is ready right this minute. I think he's going to be one we're going to be looking at, for the future. So for the time being, it's a real statement, and it's a real, player that will give us that solidity at the back, no doubt.
Exciting times at the back, and this seems like a really good time to come to our third signing of the evening yesterday. And Matt Davis, he's been on a few transfer shows. He likes to have an opinion. I love to have a debate with him. And Kiefer Moore, he signed from Cardiff City, age 29. He's a striker. He is a dominant striker. He loves the box. 22 games, 15 starts this season, 5 goals, 2 assists. But last season, he hit 20 goals. Matt, Kiefer Moore, you in yet?
That's not fair, Kirk. You stitched me right up here.
Come on, cheerful.
I said, didn't I? If we sign Kiefer Moore, obviously I'll get behind it. I don't understand it, if I'm being honest, because if anybody watched the show last night, I know it was on with Back of the Net, but Benjamin Bloom was on there, who I've got a lot of respect for. He's got a lot of knowledge, and also Gabe Sutton as well. And Gabe Sutton knocks it. He hit the nail right on the head when he said, when you appoint a manager and when you're a football club, you have an identity, you have a philosophy, you lay out that plan, you shape it, and you build a team around it. You recruit around that philosophy and around that plan. With Kiefer Moore, we've deviated from that. We haven't done that. We haven't done that at all. His stats, as I think you've pointed out, Kirk, aren't great. I think one season in his career, he's got 20 goals, 5 goals this season. When he did get his 20 goals, it was in a very direct Cardiff City team that played a very, very different style of football to what we do. So he's not a signing for the future. Obviously, when we get to the Premier League, I don't think he'll fit. I mean, we're pedestrian enough in the final third at the moment as it is, for whatever reason. He will slow us down further. I don't feel that Parker's going to play 2 up top. If he goes for a 3-5-2, how many players are you sacrificing to be able to accommodate Kiefer Moore? And he's not going to replace Dominic Solanke. So for me, yes, we definitely needed another striker. I would have preferred it to have been Keenan Davis from Aston Villa, who went to Forest, or possibly even Liam Delap on loan. I don't think we were even in for him, whether City would have let him go or not. But somebody of that ilk that we could have signed on loan to the end of the season, and he would have provided that plan B option. or that second option. £5 million, which is what it might amount to for Kiefer Moore, is still a lot of money for somebody who's a 65-minute striker and a plan B option, and somebody that doesn't fit our style or system as a football club.
This is definitely mixed in the chat. Now, I don't think I was Kiefer Moore at the start of the window. And as the window went on, I thought, am I Kiefer Moore? Because I've been banging on about Dom Solanke needing support, Aaron, and we needing to have a plan B that Scott Parker's maybe not buying into. But there are games like Hull when we didn't create a chance in the second half. But he did score 20 goals last season. I'm not sure why he isn't hitting those sort of numbers this season. He has hit 15 in League One as well. He's done well in the Euros for Wales. But one key point on these statistics, Aaron, and I thought being sort of a 6 foot, whatever he is, type of striker and a natural striker, that he would offer more assists. But he only got 1 assist in those 20 goals that he scored last season. So is he not offering more for someone to play off him?
Yeah, I mean, Keith, I definitely hear some of Matt's comments. I don't disagree with some of them, but for me, I'm quite happy with this signing. I think, the amount of games I've been to this season where we're screaming for a bit of aerial presence in the box. We don't get enough crosses into the box anyway, maybe because we know we've got no one to head the ball into the net. We like to get the ball wide, and I think the delivery of the likes of Christie, Zamora, and people like Cantwell, who we're going to come on to. I think he can certainly be an option. Now, again, I haven't seen a huge amount of him, but again, I get a lot of people again living in an area up here. I've got a lot of mixed supporters, and there's a Cardiff City supporter who's absolutely devastated to let him go, and a few Wales supporters who've been saying he's not just a target man. He's got very good feet. He's deceptively quick. He's not lightning quick, but he's deceptively quick. And he's actually very, very good on running the channels as well. And he does a lot of that for Wales. I just think, I'm not... if we were going to go 2 up top, then I think it's a great support for Dom, who we've been saying all season has been isolated. But again, if it's going to be someone who's going to come off the bench and give us a different option and just give us something different. I mean, I was just thinking, we just don't get the ball in the box enough. We don't ever look dangerous from corners or anything like that. But I think there's more to his game, as I said, than just a target man. And I think, look, it is a reasonable sum of money, but I think it's something that, that part of the jigsaw. The year we had when Wilson scored all the goals, we had a full with Kermigan, we had Kevin Jones coming in, just as something different. And if he gets us over the line and scores a few goals, even if it's 5, 6, 7, or 8 before the end of the season, then it'd be worth it. But I can see Matt's point. You might be looking for a bit more of a dynamic striker, but I think what this window's given us is so many different options. Quick players on the wing, creative players in midfield, bit more of a presence up front. And I think sometimes, in the Championship especially, you need that presence up front and not get bullied. And as I said, we don't play all those games for Wales with players like Bale and international superstars like David Brooks around you. Without offering something. He is Wales' main striker, and has been in all the qualifiers, and probably will be at the World Cup when they get there.
Variety of goals, though, Steve, that Kiefer Moore has there. We just had some footage of some of his goals last season. And when you look at that whole game, when you saw Lloyd Kelly and Gary Cahill playing with the ball 9 minutes into injury time, if you see Kiefer Moore up the pitch, do you naturally look to play up the pitch in those moments, even if your manager's telling you not to?
Well, your instinct if you're losing a game should be to do that. It's just... you're desperate for a goal. And I think what Aaron said, the key word out of what Aaron said is option. That's what he gives us. It's another option. I mean, we have got no other option up front at the moment, really. Lowe's not really cutting it, in my opinion, as a striker. And, I know we haven't seen him much there, but I don't, if Dom gets injured, we're relying on him. So I'd rather have an out-and-out striker to come in and replace him. If we're losing a game, he's an option. If he fancies setting up differently against the side, he's an option that we haven't had. And I think that's key to me. It gives us a lot more scope to play with. It's not so regimented. We may see some of those things that we're saying. Our patterns of play are very regimented, and people read us. And maybe that's because we've only got that one option up front. And if Scotty's looking at it and thinking, well, maybe I need to mix it up a bit, there's another option in Kiefer Moore. Like you said, and like a lot of people have said, he's not just a big target man. He is deceptively quick. I've seen him play. I saw him play quite a lot in was it last tournament? It was the World Cup, wasn't it? I saw him in all the Wales's games, and I was quite impressed with him. I mean, he's certainly he's a key that sort of, what's the old saying? He's got pretty good feet for a big man, that sort of thing. But I'm happy with him because I think he does. He gives us another dimension.
For and against for you though, Matt. Don't worry about that. It looks very, very split. But the next guy, as we were digesting 3 signings, another one was coming in, and this one I think he did have to push through at Peterborough. He asked to leave potentially, and that was Sarike Dembele, 25 winger. His stats are 24 games, 22 starts, 5 goals, 1 assist. And he had pretty decent stats in League One when they got promoted as well. Steve, this is someone you potentially muted about at the start of the season. Now, please don't compare him to Jamal Lowe, okay? Because I made that mistake the other night on Twitter.
I'm going to compare him to someone else.
No. What I'm saying about Dembele is I hope he comes in hitting the ground running if he can get in the team and hopefully give us an output that we might need. But Dembele, what did you think about that transfer?
Yeah, I mean, for the money we've got him for, it's a no-brainer for me. I know it's going to be a step up in level for him because he's only just come up into this division, and then he's getting to the other end of the division, the top end of it. So he's really going to have to sort of up his game another level, I think. But there's some very good signs there. I mean, you said about comparisons. To me, he looks very much like, and it's quite a weird. There's so many similarities actually with Maxi Gradle. He's born in Ivorian of descent, actually Scottish though. Yeah, he's a very, very pacey left-sided forward. So I've seen a lot of his. I've seen a few bits of his show reels. I mean, I don't really know much about him. I was actually after the other Peterborough forward, as you well know. Lucky that one didn't. I fell on my arse on that one, didn't I? But yeah, he likes to get on the ball and he likes to drive forward, which is another thing I've been saying for a few weeks now. We don't really have a plethora of players that like to get the ball down and run at the defence. And he seems to want to do that. And he's got an eye for goal. And he's actually deceptively quite strong. I mean, he's tiny little fella, but he sort of like confuses people. He's like almost between their legs. I was watching some of the videos. He's like in between them. You think, how's he going to win that ball? And he comes out away with the ball. But all right, albeit at a lower level, we'll see with this one. But I don't think he's one of those that walks straight into the side. I think he's going to really have to show his worth in training to impress Scott and get in front of the likes of Anthony and maybe Jamal Lowe as well. But yeah, pretty pleased with this one for how much he cost.
Matt, when I look at some of these signings and I think that they can take us really on straight away and maybe give us that promotion push and that feeling back in the system. When I look at the likes of Dembele and I compare it to like Hill, that's almost a safe sign in that if it all goes wrong, we've maybe got a good player for a third year in the Championship. Am I fair?
Yes, I think there is that strategy. I think the strategy of the board and of the recruitment team has certainly been look at players whose contracts are running out shortly, and let's see if we can get them for a fee that wouldn't necessarily be the case if they had if they were tied up on 3-year contracts. And they're also looking at Plan A and Plan B. Plan A is obviously Premier League. Let's get us there, and let's bring Championship-ready players in to get us there, and then worry about our recruitment again when we're in the Premier League. But also Plan B would be, well, what about if we don't go up? We needed to have another crack at it next season. So let's make sure we've got those Championship-ready players in the squad as well. So I do agree with that strategy up to a point. Now, I don't want to come here and be negative at all. I've been very, very complimentary of the board and the recruitment team over the last 18 months. But I'm going to say one thing here, and I'd love your feedback on it, and anybody in the chat as well. In September, when the window closed, we all thought, did we not? We've got a great squad. We've got a fantastic squad. We've done some great business. We've sold players for good money, and now look at that squad. It is fantastic. And throughout September and October, at least, it was fantastic. We were picking up results, and we thought in January we might need to add one or two. But look at the squad we've got here. We've got some brilliant players. Now suddenly, when January comes along, we're thinking our squad's weak, isn't it? We're in trouble here. We're getting found out. We're predictable. So what we're actually saying by bringing 7 players in a January window, where prices ordinarily are not very competitive. It's not a great window to compete in. We've just brought in 7 players. What we're actually saying is, actually, those 4 or 5 players that we signed in August or September aren't good enough. So go out and get me replacements, but better ones. So we'll still have these players contracted to us that we recruited in August. But now we've got to repeat the process and bring in another 7 players. Now, in August, I would not have predicted we'd be signing 7 players in January. So is that not a valid point?
Steve, you were shaking your head.
Not entirely. I don't think at the end of that window we thought we had a great. I didn't anyway, because we were fielding the likes of Kilkenny, Zamora, Anthony for our first games. We barely had a squad, and I think he got
at the end of the window, Steve. When we'd recruited.
Yeah, but who did we get? We got Macondes, Gary Cahill, and
up front, Marcondes, Morgan Rogers, Jamal Lowe. So those 3. Let's take those 3 players in isolation. We've now replaced those 3 players effectively in this window, because what we're saying effectively is we don't trust them. We've not seen enough from them to make us think that they're good enough. Having recruited.
Well, maybe they've not shown enough.
Is it that they've not shown enough, or is it that they've not been coached properly?
Well, we'll never know. We'll never know that, will we? We don't know what goes on in training. No,
that's right. But when Norwich won the league last season, any team that's successful in this division needs a settled side. So when we went up to 14-15, you could name 9 of the 11 players, could you not, week in, week out? And that included Saturday, Tuesday, nailed on 9 players that were cohesive, that formed partnerships, that worked together, that had passion, had commitment, and were a team. And Eddie Howe would complement that. There's no way that an Eddie Howe squad or the board at the time would have panicked, if you like, which is what you can call it a little bit now, because I know what's happening. Max at the top is saying, there's no way we're not going up this season. I want some money back. So here's the checkbook. Up to a point, you've got carte blanche here. Make sure this happens.
Sorry, I think there's 2 things. I think firstly, in our squad, we had a lot of similar players and not a lot of variety. So I think you're looking at, you got Lerma, Pearson, Lewis, Cook, Kilkenny, all playing the number 6 role. We bought in Marcondes for free. It was the first signing of the summer, who Brentford fans, were very torn over, and he just hasn't proved it for me. 2 other big things I think we're all forgetting is that Brooks and Stanislas are basically taken out of action.
Yeah.
So I don't, when the window closed, we didn't know obviously about Brooksy's diagnosis. We didn't know that. Well, we should have known. We should have known, but obviously, Stanislas actually last year played probably the most games he's played for a long time. So we've lost 2 of our most creative players, which we didn't know when the window closed. So I think the likes of and Rogers just hasn't cut it. So I think that's 2 big of our most creative players who we probably needed to replace. And I think we've been crying out the fact that, Billing aside, who we know can blow hot and cold, we haven't got that attacking midfielder, because they're all so similar. Marcondes, again, I just don't think is up to it really, if we're being honest. So that's why we got. Well, that's why we were after Lawrence. That's why we're after Swift. That's why we're after Rothwell. That's why we got Cantwell. But yeah, no, Matt, you can say that the recruitment wasn't right, but I still think maybe Brooks would have played inside, or Christie would have played inside more, and Brooks would have been on the right wing. But the
only thing that worries me, Aaron, is that we've got 30 players on the books now. All right, 25 with the under 23. Yeah. We do need that settled side, because any successful team and sustainable team and sustainable football club needs that settled side that forms partnerships, forms cohesion, and you complement it. You add to it as you go. You develop players. When you sign a player, you look at all the attributes on the pitch, off the pitch, which is what we've been spoiled, haven't we, of Eddie Howe doing that, and the structure there. And then you develop those players when you sign them. There's 3 or 4 in this squad now, at least, maybe more, that we're saying, oh, mate, actually, we've signed them, but we might have messed up there. Maybe they're not up to it. So bring in replacements and bring in better ones.
But then, Matt,
you can't keep going through that process, because we might do it again when we go up, because are they Premier League ready, a lot of these?
Well, we're probably going to cross this bridge in a bit when we try and predict the starting a lineup with all those players. Let's come back to it. Let's just should we just finish that final transfer? Let's bring some positivity.
Who did we sign?
We all got solid opinions. They all count. There's even fans in the chat agreeing with everyone's comments. But let's just bring it back for that 5th signing, shall we? And that was the last one of the evening. That was Todd Cantwell. This one, again, is a big favourite with the fans, but we need to be realistic with it as well. His current statistics this season are 8 games, 5 starts, 0 goals, 0 assists. But in the promotion season for Norwich, he was very, very good. 6 goals, 6 assists, and a talented footballer. Aaron, Todd Cantwell is a player that can influence us further up the pitch. And I, for one, have been asking for 2 offensive attacking midfielders ahead of someone like Lerma in recent weeks.
Yeah, very happy with this one. I think, I would be very surprised if people weren't happy with this signing. I think, he obviously, he's only 23 as well. I couldn't believe he's only 23 years old. I mean, I thought he was about 26, 27. He seems to be around forever. Got so much ability. I guess he's been involved in 2 Norwich promotions. I think even in the Premier League, when the year before, last time in the Premier League, him, Buendia and Pukki were ripping it up, certainly in the early part of the season. He's got ability to play on from the left. He can play centrally. He's clearly someone with an eye for goal and someone who can drive us forward from midfield, who we need. And I think, we were always clearly after that sort of player. We were obviously looking at Lawrence at one stage, which was a no-go. Rothwell was in the mix. But when Cantwell came up, it blew Rothwell out of the water, even though we told him we wanted him. Something that does excite me. Now, he needs to get his head together. Whatever reason, it just needs a new challenge. Just things weren't working out for him recently at Norwich. But at his age, and if it's the right fit, then it's something that's really excited about.
Steve, I suppose the big one for this one is just getting that talent back out on the pitch and getting him up to speed. Because for me, if we get the Todd Cantwell of last season, he does get in this team.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it's a difficult one, this, for me, because on paper it seems brilliant, and it's an absolute no-brainer. And like Aaron said, he's 23. He's got promoted twice. He's been promoted out of the Championship, so he knows what it's all about. But the thing that bothers me a little bit with this is that he had a falling out with the Norwich hierarchy, didn't he, with Farker? And I don't know if it's a mental thing with him getting a bit too big for his boots or whatever. But I find it difficult to think that he, someone with what, like Aaron said, that natural talent and ability, which he's got in abundance, has all of a sudden just fallen down the pecking order. It just seems a bit strange one for me. But he's done it in the Premier League, so why he's not doing it in the Premier League now? That's the question I have about him. And like you say, game time is also, he's not going to be ready straight away, is he? He's going to take a few weeks before he's ready. But if we can get the player that got out of that, got into the Premier League with Norwich and ripped it up, like Aaron said, with Pukki and Buendia, that is, if Park can get that tune out of him, we've got one hell of a player on our hands.
How do you feel about Todd Cantwell then, Matt? Because Marcondes, although he has added value recently, he scored in the opening day of the season, but I have said myself that he's not a world beater, and he definitely could play inside those wingers and ahead of a holding midfielder. Do you think?
So this is the positivity for me now, big time, because these are the sort of signings. Now, Nat Phillips, which you touched upon earlier, Aaron, Steve, and Todd Cantwell, these are the sort of, particularly when you're signing a player on loan, I don't care how much the loan costs, $1.5 million. If we've got an option to buy Todd Cantwell for 11 million and we can get the very best out of him, and that, by the way, will come down to man management. So this will come down to Scott Park managing him properly and motivating him, getting the best out of him. And this is where he's got to be tested and earn his corn. But if we can do that with a player, I had to pinch myself last night. I think, are we really signing Todd Cantwell? Because 9 months ago, a year ago, he was linked with a £40 million move to Aston Villa, by the way. And yet we've bought him to AFC Bournemouth on a loan to the end of the season, apparently with an £11 million option to buy him. If we can negotiate the same, and these are the sort of players, if we can negotiate the same with Nat Phillips and even Freddie Woodman, maybe, these are the sort of deals that we do, because these will be Premier League players for us. They won't just be serve a purpose maybe in the Championship. This is the future, and these are the type of deals that we should be doing. So this, for me, is an unbelievable signing. Probably one of the best that I can remember. You know, you talk about when Jack Wilshere come to the club a few years ago. I think this is up there. If we can get the best out of the fella, this is up there with that Jack Wilshere signing for me. It's that exciting because he's 23. He's exactly what we need. We talked about Tom Lawrence, didn't we? Being the man. I was a big advocate of bringing in Tom Lawrence, but as Aaron said, you know, Todd Cantwell becomes available on a loan to the end of the season for whatever it is, $1.5 million. You've got to do the deal, haven't you? It's an amazing. This could potentially be, it should be an amazing piece of business if we can get the best out of him.
And maybe he can lift the noise inside Dean Court because he is an exciting player. He plays on the front,
and he's got a hairband.
And he's got a
hairband.
Say,
there's a shop just had a big delivery of blonde wigs today as well.
Yeah, and hairbands.
But as the ball comes to him, he does like to take it in front of him, and he does like to drive on with the ball. So he will get bums off seats. I'm sure of that if we get the best out of him. So exciting signings that came in, 5 to add to Laird and Hill. And we spoke about Laird and Hill in the previous video, so you can check them out on the channel. But it's about half-time time, isn't it? And you know, if you've watched these transfer shows before, we've mixed up, we've brought a bit of fun into it, and we've done a quiz. Unfortunately, my team
Jermaine Defoe questions.
My team seemed to let me down every single time. So I've had to make an executive decision purely for my job because the chairman's put me under pressure. How can I make sure that Cherries... Exactly. How can I make sure that Cherries Red Army win a quiz? And I thought, I can't put you up against any contenders anymore. You've just got to take on each other, and that's the only way I can guarantee it. So, do you know what? You can join in the chat. They shouldn't be able to see anything in the chat because I've cancelled it. They can't see it. So we'll have a bit of fun. Then we'll try and predict what Scott Parker will do on that football pitch when he predicts the team. But let's go into it for the final time for this season, the quiz. Now it's I love it. Aaron is ready.
Got my brain box on.
So, slightly different this time then. What we're going to do is I'm going to ask you a question. You'll get an opportunity to give 2 answers. If you get an answer wrong, well, the one person that gets an answer wrong and 2 you get right, you drop out and it'll go down until there's 1 person left. So what we're going to do is ask you a question. I'll come around the room, give me an answer. As long as you keep getting it right, you're going to stay in the quiz. Simple as that. All right, guys?
I'm going for a straight red.
So, Callum Wilson signed for Bournemouth from Coventry City. Great striker for us, got us promoted. And in the 2017-2018 season, he scored 9 goals in the Premier League. Can you name 6 clubs he scored against? He actually scored against 7, but can you name 6? So, Aaron, can you give us one of the Premier League teams he scored against in 2017-2018?
This is the 3rd season, isn't it? Oh, good grief.
And there's an imaginary timer of 5 seconds.
Which season? 17-18? Or 17?
Blimey, don't know.
17-18.
9 goals. 9 goals that Callum Wilson scored. Can you name a Premier League side he scored against in those 9 goals? There are 7.
They all roll into one.
1 in 3 chance, mate. Just pick a team. Roughly.
Huddersfield Town.
Yes, he scored 3. Over to you, Steve. That's correct. Can you name another team?
I'm going for West Ham.
He did score against West Ham. Matt, can you give me a 3rd team?
17-18. I'm going to go with...
An easy one.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Leicester
Pick a
City.
team.
Leicester
City. And that is incorrect. So just like that, because the other guys got it right, Matt drops out. We're going down to 2. I've just put Matt in the sin bin for 5 minutes because he got it wrong. All right. You could have had Borough, Huddersfield, West Ham, Brighton, Arsenal, Chelsea, or Burnley.
I had Brighton and Arsenal.
And Matt, you'll be back soon, so don't worry. Grab a drink. You'll be back in.
Oh, he's
soon.
gone. He's actually gone. Blimey. Okay.
We've taken
He's
him
been
out.
killed.
We've taken him out.
He's been put down like a horse.
So you're in the final. I don't know why I put round 1. It should be the final round, but you're in the final, guys. Okay. So this is the question to take it. So Cherries Red Army definitely win. Lee Camp, he played for Bournemouth between 2013 and 2015. But can you name another club he has signed for in his professional career? There's quite a few.
Oh God,
Steve. Another team that Lee Camp has played for.
Derby.
Correct. He did play for Derby. Over to you, Aaron.
Nottingham Forest.
Correct. 1-1.
Oh,
Back to you, Steve. If only we could hear what's going on in Steve's head right now.
What's happening is this little mouse on a wheel and it's just going round.
There's about another 8.
He's played for a lot of teams, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gonna go for. I don't know. I've got 3 or 4 here. I don't know. Sheffield United.
Steve has gone for Sheffield United. It's not in there, is it? Aaron's done it. How does it feel, Aaron? You won a Cherries Red Army quiz. How does it feel?
Oh, it's unbelievable. I have to say, I want to thank everybody who was involved. My parents, obviously, all the support I've got with Cherries Red Army, and it's been an emotional time. I had a couple more entries. I would have won it anyway. I would have said Birmingham. I would have said QPR. I think he played for them as well, didn't he?
Yeah, there was a couple in there. So Derby, Burton, QPR, Norwich, Forest, West Brom, Rotherham, Cardiff, Sunderland, Birmingham, Coventry and Swindon. So Cherries Red Army won a quiz. It was nailed on anyway. It was a guarantee. Aaron's the winner. We're going to bring in the guys back in and we're going to try and finish this stream and try and have a look at this squad. Ridiculous amount of numbers. Let's get back into it, shall we? All right, guys, you're back. You feeling better?
I don't care. I don't care where they've gone after us. Who cares?
Absolutely. I'm going to show you something on the screen in a minute, and Matt brought it up. Thank you, everyone who got involved in that quiz. And see if I can show this on the screen, shall we, Matt? Because this is what you were talking about. When Scott Parker on a Friday night starts to look at the team, he's potentially looking at this. There's quite a few players in there. Now, there might be some in there that need to come out. This is on SofaScore, the likes of Rossi, etc. But quite a few players in there, Matt, aren't there?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, he's got a lot to keep happy, isn't he? He's got a lot of work on to create a harmony and a togetherness within that squad at the moment with 30 players within it. I'm amazed actually that more players didn't go out on loan yesterday at the very least. Maybe a couple of players. That might still. I'm not sure. Can that still happen? The loan window's still open.
No, I thought it might still extend.
No, I think you can have emergency loans, but that's it.
No, I'm amazed.
So, Aaron,
really. But,
before we go into that sort of super predicted 11 that we're going to try and look at, are you surprised Morgan Rogers is still an AFC Bournemouth player? And are you surprised that Gavin Kilkenny didn't go out on loan?
Yeah, I'm definitely surprised at Rodgers, 100%. I mean, I thought it was a given that he was, clearly hadn't cut it, and he was going to go back to Man City and clearly straight out to another Championship League One team, probably lower Championship team. Makes a lot of sense because I still think, given a run in the team, he could really offer them something. So really surprised about him. And Gavin Kilkenny, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm surprised on the basis that I don't think he's going to get much game time. You can argue whether he should. I think he should have been playing ahead of Lewis Cook in the last few games, in my opinion. But taking that aside, on the basis that he's probably not going to get much game time now, then yeah, absolutely, it was a no-brainer. He should have gone to a championship club to get minutes. He's clearly our player for the future. We're not going to let him go, but get some minutes under your belt, because I can't see how he's going to fit into this team. If he wasn't getting in the team before, he's not going to get in it now, is he? Rightly or wrongly. But yeah, I mean, again, one thing I will agree with Matt on. I know I didn't share the same feelings about some of the players we signed, but I definitely share the feeling that where I'm struggling once the euphoria died down is how is he going to keep all these players happy, and that, you know, for the likes of Brady, Marcondes, that's going to get any game time at all.
Okay, so guys, this was our last team lineup on Saturday. That was, and you've got it on the screen right now. The first question I want to go around the room and ask, and you can get involved in the chat, is do you change that formation? Because I'm looking at Kiefer Moore thinking it may be a 3-5-2. So coming to you first, Matt, imagine that we go into the first championship game, everyone fit. I know it's probably highly unlikely, but we go past Bournemouth and everyone's fit, and you can just pick a starting 11. Are you changing that formation, or are you sticking with the 4-1-2-3, whatever it is, the 4-3-3? Are you staying with the formation or moving it?
No, I'll probably stay with the formation. I mean, when you've got, so I'll go back to what I was saying earlier. When you've got a philosophy and a way of playing, it'd be a very risky. I mean, I know it can. You have to be adaptable and flexible in today's game, but I just think it'd be very risky at this stage of the season. We're working towards the run-in now, to suddenly rip up everything that you've been training, you've been teaching, you've been coaching, and just say, right, sorry lads, but we're not going to do that anymore. We're going 3-5-2. Woodgate tried it last season, didn't he? And Tyndall tried it, and it didn't work on either occasion. We've got the personnel more so now to do it. I think we've got the personnel to do anything we want to do, haven't we now? But no, at the moment, I would stick with. I mean, we've got so many players that you'd have to sacrifice if we were to play that 3-5-2 formation. Because you have two wing backs, which would probably be Zamura and either Stacey or Laird. So you're and then two up top. So you're cutting out so many of those players that we've signed. We must have probably about 8 or 9 of them with real quality in the midfield areas and in those 10 and 8 areas, number 10 and number 8 areas. So at the moment, no, I would keep the formation the same.
Okay, Steve. So just focusing on the formation for the moment, are we keeping the formation or are we changing the formation?
I'll echo what Matt's just said. I think it seems daft to change it. Like you say, he's been working on it with the players for over half the season now, and we know what it can do, and you know what rewards it can bring. So it seems daft to change it. What I believe is that 3-5-2 option, he has tried that when things haven't been going very well, and I don't think he's had the personnel to pull it off very well, and it hasn't looked very good. So now I think he's got some round pegs for some round holes for when he wants to use that formation. I think that's more what he's geared up for doing now. I think it is a plan B, if you like, but it seems to me like he's got the better play, more depth in the squad to choose those positions. Because before we had players were turning into a back three, and I remember the Coventry game, and he changed it, and Jack Stacey just looked lost, and then immediately we concede a goal. And I just think it's like that. And you've got no one else to play up top with Dom if he needs to go that way. Now we have. So I think he'll stay with that, but I think the 3-5-2 is something he might call upon if needed.
Okay, but that first game where he can pick from this squad, Aaron, are you keeping the 4-3-3 or are you wanting to change to like a 3-5-2?
No, I'd agree with the other guys. I think it will definitely start with that. I think what they both said is correct. It's a live option to change that. The only thing is, I would say that I would from what we know about Zamura and from what we've heard about Laird, they're probably both far more suited to wing backs than full backs. And what probably 2 incredible wing backs if you think what they offer us. But I can't see us delving too far away from that now. But it will certainly be a live option either during games or for some opponents potentially.
So what we're going to do then is I'm going to go through each position, give you one position. I want you to give me a name. You're going to keep that player in, move him out, see what we end up with. So I'm going to go first. I think Mark Travers has to stay in goal. Freddie Woodman, I I assume will be a very, very good backup and a very, very good goalkeeper. But Travers, many clean sheets, best goalkeeper in the division at one point, probably could be still the best goalkeeper in the division. He keeps his spot. So, Matt, coming to you, Jack Stacey, does he keep his space at right back, or are you wanting to change him for someone like Laird?
For me, I would probably go Laird.
You would go Laird.
We've only got him on loan until we've got him on loan until May, and he's been brought in for a reason. I don't know why we haven't seen him yet. Actually, is he still injured?
He has been.
Yeah,
he's not up to speed.
Been,
but if we imagine that everyone's fit, and he's got someone.
Stacey's been hit and miss for me, hit and miss. So I'd go Laird.
Aaron, let's go to the next possession then. Currently, it was Gary Cahill. Would you want to swap him out? I reckon you will.
Super Natty Phillips. Yeah, get him in. I mean, yeah, he's going to be. I hope we're not all wrong about him, but everything we know, everything we've seen, everything we've heard, he'll be potentially the best defender we have got in the team. So I think it's made slightly easier the fact that Meps, unfortunately for him, has got his injury. He's going to be out for probably not actually that much longer, but probably for the next league game he'll be out. And Gary Cahill's been out of form, so on that basis, I think it's an easy get in as opposed to if Cahill was still playing incredibly well. But yeah, Phillips comes straight in for me.
Some agree from the chat as well coming through. Steve, probably an easy decision. Does Lloyd Kelly keep his spot?
Yeah, mate. Yeah. No
mate.
More to be said
as
on
easy
that.
As that. Yeah, mate.
Well, I mean, you're not going to take the captain out, are you?
Probably another easy decision, Matt. Jordan Zamora, does he lose his spot to Leif Davis?
No. Jordan Zamora's been outstanding. Yes, he's had an injury. He's been away at the African Cup of Nations. He's come back and he's looked a little bit rusty on Saturday, as I think we spoke about, Kirk. But overall, he's been phenomenal, and he offers you that attacking threat as well. Defensively, he's improved no end. He's been a breath of fresh air only this season, unexpectedly. So, yeah, he's got to keep his spot.
I assume we're going for one holding midfielder, guys, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so, Aaron, one holding midfielder, Ben Pearson, man of match performance on Saturday. Does he start there?
I love Ben Pearson. I really hope he stays, and whether we go up or stay down, I really hope he's still part of it, because for me, I just love the guy, and he was man of the match on Saturday. But I think if we're playing one there on the basis of who we brought in going further forward, I know he can bomb up and down, but I think Jeff's best position, and I've had discussions with people who disagree on this, and I can see why, but I still think his best position is in front of the back four. He's like the Kante for us. He's worth two players there. He can cover, and he's just fantastic. So that does mean Pearson will come out of the team unless you're going to play a double pivot, maybe for some really tricky away games potentially. But much as I love Ben Pearson, and I don't want him to go anywhere, I'd love him to be on that pitch, because whenever he's on the pitch, we seem to always get good results generally. But if we're going to pick one, then can't look further than Lerma, can you?
Steve, 1-0 at the weekend against Barnsley. It was Phil Billing with a towering header. Does he keep his spot in this squad now?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. He's definitely got a bit of competition for the first time, hasn't he? In Cantwell. I think he does. I think you can. Well, moving on to the next place, but for me, I would keep him in there. I don't know what everyone else thinks, but I would have Cantwell and him in there. That would be the two I would have.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's just scored a header, so you can't take him out. We thought we'd never see the day.
I mean, he's blown hot and cold recently, isn't he? I think, and again, a couple of years ago, we'd be like, he'd be straight out of this team. But assuming he's fully fit, which I don't think he has been recently, then I think certainly for now, he has to keep his place in that team.
So, Matt, has Steve twisted your arm? Does Cantwell come into this team in replacement for Pearson?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree with the lads. I mean, Billing can be the most frustrating player in the world. He ambles about the pitch for 80 minutes. But what he does do is he gets close to Dom. He's the only midfielder that does get close to Dom for that link up. And he does offer you something that no other player in the squad does. So for that reason, he'll pop up with an assist and a goal out of nowhere. And it can win you a football match. So I'll definitely, at the moment, through gritted teeth a little bit, keep him in there. But
Can I
yeah,
say
I
one
think
thing before Matt goes on about Cantwell? Sorry, just very one quick. One thing we've often said about Billing is he never gets brought off, right? He's always on for whatever stinker of a game he's having. He seems to stay on the pitch because he was the only option we had to get closer to Dom. Now we've got so many more options. If he's just having a stink, he'll be off.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. This is what I say. It's through gritted teeth, but he's got work to do to that now, hasn't he? It could be the kick up the backside that he needs. And yeah, for me, carry on, Kirk.
No, go on, Karen.
For me, Todd Cantwell, absolutely 100%. As long as we can get him fit, not just physically but mentally in the right frame of mind. There's a lot of feedback from Norwich supporters saying that his ego's big. He's fallen out of favour with Farker and Dean Smith. He seems to have some sort of issue mentally at the moment. Thinks he's maybe better than the club, but bigger than the club, better than what he is at 23. So we've got to manage him and get him right. But yeah, Todd Cantwell, there's no way you can sign him and not put him in the team if he's fully fit and ready from a physical and mental point of view.
What this is proving, as I look at the chat comments and keep them coming because it's excellent to read, is you've got Billing Cantwell. I wouldn't play Billing. Pearson should start for me. And this is potentially what's going to be the issue in a few weeks' time. But let's go forward, Aaron. Ryan Christie, I don't think he's hitting the heights that he was at the start of the season. For me, he's not playing with freedom. He's not playing and living in the moment. But on his day, I want Ryan Christie in this starting lineup. Do you?
Yeah, no, I do. I think his work ethic is second to none. I think he just gives us so much effort and energy, tenaciousness. He just, he won't be swanning around the pitch anytime. He busts a gut. He has been not as effective recently. I think a lot of that is because the teams have worked him out. They double up on him and they force him back on his left foot. Obviously, he wants to use, but he can't really go on the outside. So they know where he's going to go, that's the only thing about playing him on the right, as brilliant as he has been all season. Some people have said, talking about Cantwell, that apparently he's better either coming from the left or even from the sideline. So whether people talk about Christie being in that number 8 role and putting Cantwell on the sidelines, but I'd like to see Cantwell centrally because I think he can dictate the game. So I think Christie has to stay in for now. Look, the argument would be if David Brooks was fully well and firing, he probably would be playing in that position, but he's not. But again, he's now got, whereas Christie potentially was kind of unrivaled there, really. He's now got competition, and this is what I'm hoping this all brings, is a kick up the backside for those who perhaps feeling a little complacent and comfortable in their positions, but they've now really got to prove themselves. And if nothing else, obviously with the headaches involved, if nothing else, if it gives all those players an extra 10% to really put in to keep their position, and we're only going to benefit from that. So yeah, he stays in the team for me for now, certainly.
Steve, this is an interesting position now.
Yeah.
A player that added value at the start of the season, scored against QPR. He was scoring against Coventry, even though he didn't mean it. And do you know what? Zamura's in the team. So why would Anthony not keep his spot? Because some of the fans are saying Dembele walks straight into this squad.
Not for me. This is going to be a really tricky one, and it's basically, I think it's all going to boil down to who impresses Scott on the training ground the most. Because, like we said, I mean, don't get me wrong, Anthony was brilliant for the first part of the season. That combination with Zamora, like we said at many times, telepathic almost. But of late, as soon as Zamora picked up that knock, and then he was away the African Cup of Nations, Anthony hasn't looked the same player. And I think that's something that, if you're going to be a professional footballer, you can't go through your career depending on your mate being there all the time. He's got to put performances in when he's not around. And he hasn't done that, unfortunately. And whether that's just coincidence or whether it's just a bit of burnout because he's a young lad, whatever it is, he's got to now fight for his place in that position, because I don't think he's really had anyone pushing him for it. Morgan Rogers obviously didn't really push him for it. I don't think Jamal Lowe's really pushed him that hard for it. So with Dembele coming in, I mean, we'll see. But I like what I see from him. He's very, very rapid, very direct. Got an eye for a goal. I mean, Anthony's, we've seen on a few occasions, and Middlesbrough springs to mind, when he gets in front of goal, he can snatch at the ball a little bit. So yeah, tough one. I would stick with Anthony and see how he reacts to having that pressure.
Okay, and I gave you that opportunity to keep him in the side there, and I'm sure that'll be up for debate. I'm sure some will go Anthony, there's even people in there wanting Lowe, and we'll go with it. But it wouldn't surprise me if we saw the likes of Dembele, and Anthony does definitely need to up his game. That final spot then, Matt, it's Kiefer Moore, isn't it?
Yeah, more nailed on all day long. Yeah, Thompson. I mean, just on a final point about Jadon Anthony. If somebody had said to you in July, what's he got? 6 goals and 6 assists this season, something like that, or 6 goals, 4 assists, something like that. You know, if somebody had said that, you'd have said, "Well, what an unbelievable first season for such a young lad breaking through." I just think he has burnt out a little bit. He is a young lad, so we have got to treat him with kid gloves. And again, these are the positions, the wide positions, that are really up for grabs now. The competition for places is fierce. So, let's see how he responds to that. Dom Solanke, yeah, of course, he's gonna fill that central striking slot there, number 9. So that rounds off the team.
The only thing I would say there is, I was going to say, the only thing I would say there, Kirk, sorry to, but is again is we knew that in the attacking areas of the pitch is where we really needed to improve, because we've been a bit turgid recently and a bit predictable. And if you look at what we've just come up with between all of us, apart from Cantwell, that front six is the front six. We haven't changed it. We've still got Christie, Anthony, Solanke isolated. So we've only put Cantwell in there, of all the attacking talent that we potentially bought. So what's going to change? That's what I'm worried about.
And do you know what's even more interesting? I'm going to show you something else now. That is the rest of the squad. And you can only have 7 more players on the subs bench. How do you manage that, Steve?
I don't know. Scott Parker's going to show us, I expect. But it's a real headache. I know we don't, because we have to register 25, don't we? Is it for the second or after the transfer window's finished? We've got, I looked at it this morning, I think we had 32 on the books. But some of those, like we said earlier, me and Matt were saying that some of them are under 21s, so they don't count. Loan players do count, apparently. So they have to be registered. So I don't know what's going to happen with Morgan Rogers at all. But to me, he would be one that I'd leave out. But it just seems like a really odd situation that why wouldn't Man City have him back? Why would he be stuck here and not playing, not getting any game time? So we'll see what happens with that one. Maybe we'll feature. Who knows? But yeah,
we had to pick substitute. Yeah, sorry, Steve.
No, so I'm just going to finish up by saying, this is where Parker really has to earn his crust, like Matt said earlier. He's really got to use his man management skills to the best of his ability, because this is a tough ask to keep all those players happy.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Matt. We had loads of smiles on our face last night. It was so exciting being a Cherries fan. But I do look at this and think he can only pick 7 more players for a match day squad.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Aaron touched upon it earlier. Once the euphoria had sort of settled and all the dust had settled today, you're sort of looking at it and thinking, we've got a 30-man squad here. You can't keep everyone happy. We need to keep harmony within the squad. We need to keep a togetherness. We need to. There needs to be, a degree of cohesion as well within that squad and within that team, playing that, playing the way we want to play. So it's going to be very, very difficult for Scott Parker. This is really going to. The jury. Let's be honest. The jury is firmly out on the fella at the moment. From my point of view, it is, and I know from a lot of people's point of view. So this next few months, I mean, the one thing I will say, and they were talking about this on TalkSport this afternoon, is that they were saying if Bournemouth don't go up from here, it'd be an absolute disaster, won't it? With all with the players they've got and with the squad they've got. So the pressure on us as players and as a management team is going to be immense. And this is where you're going to see the real Scott Parker, because if we don't get promotion at the end of the season, it will be seen as a failure. Yeah, we might get another shot at it next year with a reasonable looking squad, but we will lose a lot of players or a good number of players over the summer, no doubt. If we don't go up, so the pressure on the man now is huge. So I'll be really interested to see how he manages this and how he responds to it.
A good point by Lee J to take a few players out, but still only 7 from probably another 10 or something like that.
You got Steve Cook's in there as well for some reason.
Oh, was he?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe it was Lewis Cook.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
Did we? So,
take him out as well. But
sorry, I was just going to say, how do we know that Maxim hasn't looked at this, the situation we find ourselves in? Because we said at the beginning, Bournemouth said at the beginning of the season, this was going to be a 3-year project with Parker. And did we ever see ourselves being in this position? Did they foresee this or think, no, we'll be mid-table, maybe pushing for playoffs? Now we find ourselves in this position where actually if we roll the dice a little bit here, we could get the big cash cow. And as Maxim's seen that as a way of cashing in, and it's a risk we can afford to take because we haven't spent a lot. Let's be honest, we've got a lot of players.
Yeah, this is what I said earlier, Steve. He's clearly now, Maxim looked at it and thought, we have to go up. There's no way. I want some money back. We have to go all. Here's a checkbook. Within reason, go out and make sure that we deliver promotion now, because it's there, and it is there for us, because this league is not the strongest. Everybody's slipping up behind us. Blackburn, QPR, West Brom look poor. It is there for us. It's there for the taking. So we have to seize it.
Well, I'm glad we got to that predicted 11, because look, that was me earlier on trying to predict an 11, and I didn't get anywhere. So
that's why no one ever listens to you.
Exactly. So I'm glad we got there. Final thoughts then. Thank you to everyone who's joined us in the chat. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and obviously get your comments below if you weren't able to catch us live. But Aaron, let's summarize this transfer window. We were expecting to do a little bit. We've done more than we thought, but a positive spin. Yes, there's going to be man management required, but are the league going to be scared of AFC Bournemouth?
Well, I think everyone apart from Bournemouth fans is going to hope we'll fail now. That seems to be the reaction. We're now hated. By the league FC, parachute payment FC. I've seen it all. And we all know the real numbers where a lot of them add up. We've got the money we got for Danjuma, the ridiculous money we got for Surridge has bought 3 or 4 of those players in. So I don't think we're doing any of that kind of thing. I think Steve and Matt have both touched on it. We've gone in peaks and troughs this season. I'm not talking about the form necessarily, but just the expectation levels. So we started the season, with a 3-year project. As you say, we've lost our best player. We started with a bunch of kids. Let's see where we can reach the playoffs. Suddenly, we had an incredible start to the season, and we looked like we're shoo-ins for promotion. And we're like, all right, let's carry on doing that. And then we've had a blip, or quite a reasonable blip, where we're all looking at our team and our management and sort of saying, we're not performing. It's turgid. We're too predictable. And then I think Steve hit the nail on the head. I think then the powers that be have said, hold on a second here, we didn't expect this, but bloody hell, this league isn't all that. Let's go for it now. Let's speculate to accumulate, which might not have been in the plan even a few weeks ago, to go for it. And we'll worry about it when we get to the Premier League, because we'll be £120 million better off. So I think that's clearly the direction. So from suddenly being an expectation to try and get in the playoffs, it will be seen, especially after this window, by not just the football world, but by Bournemouth fans especially, that it will be a real disappointment if we don't get automatic promotion. So it's all goes out the window what we felt at the beginning of the season. So yeah, it's a gamble. There are potential negatives: squad management, keeping players happy, not making too many changes, trying to keep a settled side. All that is in the mix, but he's now got the powers at his disposal, and he's got to make it work. And I'm very excited, and hopefully, as I said, I'm pleased it's not my job to make those decisions, but I'm really expecting the last 18 games to make a push and get that second spot, if not the first spot.
Need to just show this on the screen as well, because I did put a poll out on Twitter on the Cherries Red Army, and I did put it out to the fans. Do you think only automatic promotion is acceptable now with the squad at Scott Parker's disposal? 92.2%, Steve. Is it a failure if we're in the playoffs?
Absolutely, it is. I mean, that's what we've done. What we've gone out and done is just say, we want this automatic promotion. That's the message we've sent out with what we've done. And like I said, I think it's the players we brought in, I think makes sense to me. They do. And there's those players also. There's points to prove with many of those players. Nat Phillips wants to play at a higher level. Of course, we will be a stepping stone for a couple of these players. Obviously, all these loan players we've got. Cantwell needs to turn his career round and show Norwich, or if he goes back there, or we get an option, that he's a worthwhile player to have in a team wherever he goes. Dembele, he wants to make the step up. Kiefer Moore, he probably wants to play in the Premier League before he's done with his career. So there's a lot of players there with things to prove. So I think we can do it. It's just down to Scott whether he can manage us the way there. He's in a prime position to do so, and he's got the firepower there now. So there's no excuses. It's down to him.
Matt, final thoughts. Probably, arguably, got the best squad in the league. Let's hope that the pressure doesn't cause us not to blossom. But we got a good chance, haven't we?
Well, we've got a queue. We'll never have a better one, I don't think, from this position that we're in. But the question is, can Scott manage it? Can he manage all these players and find a formula that works? That's going to be. It's over to you, Scott, because this is huge now. I think we have to do it. We have to do it this season. I think it'll be even tougher next season. We will lose some players. But yeah, it's there for us, isn't it? It's that we're there to be. I mean, one thing I will say is that teams that had started working this out, and we did need that impetus, particularly in the 10 role, in the 8 role, in attacking senses, and maybe even at the back a little bit, because we were being worked out, and teams were coming to Dean Court not fearful at all. They were coming with a game plan because they saw Preston execute it, and since Preston executed it, everybody's cottoned on. This is how you play against Bournemouth. This is how you face up to them. Nobody's fearful of coming here. Now, hopefully, even though we're there to be shot at, teams will come thinking, blimey, they've got a hell of a squad here. They've got the talent to do it. So, yeah, let's just go and deliver it now.
Brilliant. Really enjoyed tonight. Thanks for coming on, guys. Matt, thank you.
Thanks, Kirk. As always a pleasure. Thanks, lads.
Steve, we saw a beautiful man in Kiefer Moore, and you're a beautiful man as well. Thanks for coming on.
Tell you what, he's a sexy bastard, isn't he? Yeah, nothing
He
else.
is a lovely
even
man.
if he can't score goals. I mean, I tell you what, we've definitely upped the wow factor of our. It's like the old Dream Boys, isn't it? Now they'll be out in white suits soon.
He definitely is. He definitely is. Aaron, you can have a holiday on me. You've been absolutely wonderful through January, keeping us up to date. Thanks for coming on this evening.
Always a pleasure.
And champion
of the quiz. So make sure you subscribe to Cherries Red Army. More content to come this week. We might have a video on Kiefer Moore. I spoke to a sports writer from at Wales Online, so maybe check out that. Might be dropping tomorrow.
Matt will be.
Yeah, definitely. We will also we'll have a mini match preview for Boreham Wood, and we might also do a Twitter Space reaction after that Boreham Wood game. So if you're on Twitter, come on live, give us your thoughts after the game. So check out that for our Twitter, but we won't probably have anything on YouTube until we come back to the Championship. Hit the like button on this video, get your comments below if you weren't able to join us live, and also a very special thank you to our channel supporter members. Because of them, we're able to do these shows. So thank you to Mike, Mark, Rich, Sammy, Steve, Paul, and Neil. You can become a channel supporter member at buymeacoffee.com/cherriesredarmy, or one-off donations are also welcome, but it allows us to use this platform and make it as pretty for you to enjoy. So that's it then. The board have backed Scotty Parker. Time for him to earn his money. Should be exciting times for the Cherries, and bums should be off seats, but we'll find out very, very soon. Look after yourselves. Check out more content on the channel soon from me, Aaron, Steve, and Matt. We will see you on the next video. Up the Cherries.
Up the Cherries.
The Cherries.